Hey golfers, I'm Drew Mahowald, the second swing golfer, back for another live at lunch in the Bay. I'm joined by Tyler Fitzel, master club fitter. Today we wanted to highlight Scottie Scheffler's clubs and some of the things that are unique about his bag. Obviously Scottie Scheffler is on a pretty crazy run right now, winning major championships and winning them comfortably. And so you've probably seen, our What's in the Bag content every other, there's all kinds of websites doing What's in the Bag content. We want to dive a little deeper into some of his stuff. And again, we don't have his exact specs in front of us, with us today, but nonetheless, we can talk about stuff because it is a little bit unique what he does with a couple of the items in his bag. So the first of all, Tyler, just give me your sense of what what makes his game so able to carry it over week to week and win so often in an age where it seems to be that there is as many competitive golfers as there ever has been at the highest level, but he just seems to rise above them.
I wonder too, it's kind of a concept of listen, I train really hard, and if I reach this accomplishment, if I get to this tournament, if I win this tournament, it's kind of all right, I did it.
Yeah.
And now we move on. I felt like, and this is just my opinion, that we got to dive in a little on his psyche. And it was not that it doesn't matter, but that he doesn't have pressure on himself.
Right.
Like some of the other, if we talk about, well, a good example of that is we can talk about Rory McIlroy. He really wanted to complete the Grand Slam, and by getting that Masters, it was kind of this weight lifted off his shoulder.
Right.
And I think what we're seeing is obviously in basically a 3-year stretch of golf, some of the most accomplished golf that's been done, except for a guy like Tiger Woods, and there are some metrics already in which Scottie's already outdone that.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy what he's doing, because I think to your point, there's a mental aspect that he just has an edge over everybody else, and that he's so kind of secure with the rest of his life outside of golf that golf is such a secondary thing to him, and it's not a bad thing, but it's kind of funny to think about how all these players, their identity is their pro golf career, and his is so not, and yet he's beating everybody out there. So it is crazy.
He was in New York, and they had the premiere of Happy Gilmore 2, which is on Netflix, and he also has a trophy with him. He goes to the premiere with his wife, but he goes on one of the late night TV shows, right? And it was, hey, let's see a picture of Scottie with the trophy, and all of a sudden it's basically, the curtain's open, here he comes. Smile, thanks, and off he goes.
Yeah.
He doesn't do a ton of endorsements. He's not in it for the fame.
No.
He's in it for that sense of accomplishment, that purpose that he does have. And he said too, I'm kind of a sicko when it comes to the way I practice, and I love practicing and getting into it.
Yeah. But he's able to separate the golf from the rest of his life so well. So I think that's a big part of it. And I don't know if he's going to stop anytime soon, which is the part that I'm.
No, the only downside to this is he's started a little later than obviously Tiger Woods did this as 22 years old, and Scottie's doing it as 29-year-old. So there's that kind of separation in years, and you go, can he sustain what Tiger did? Now we know Tiger had a bunch of years in between with certain injuries and things like that where he took time off, but I think that what we're seeing is someone who's just comfortable doing what he does. And this is one of the great things with today's episode as we take a look at equipment. He's not playing brand new equipment.
No, and that's right what I wanted to get into is he's actually, for the longest time, he played a Nike, what are those red, what were those red fairwoods called? This was as of 2021, he was playing a Nike.
Was that like a Victory Red?
Yeah,
maybe?
It might have been something like that.
Might have been.
And then he signed it with TaylorMade, I believe, in 2022 initially, and it's not his full bag. And we'll get into one of the items that's not TaylorMade. But we'll start with the driver, and this has been a point of contention to some point if you've been following along, because he's not playing the new Qi35. I believe he had an event or two where he tried it, went back to the Qi10. So he's playing the Qi10, the core model. Now we should note, TaylorMade has the sort of dot head that is slightly different than this core model that I have. There's a little bit more weight forward, produces a little bit lower spin, and then the shaft that we have today is the same one he's playing, which is the Ventus 7X Black. So, I mean, that's as stout as it probably gets as far as the build you can have for a driver at 45 inches, a D4 swing weight we're talking about. So it's, I mean, for a guy that swings like he does, and you can tell he kind of likes to hit those low piercing cuts, this is sort of the setup he's got.
Yeah, and when it comes to the equipment, one of the things that I'd say is business-wide, if you will, in the game, there's a lot of players that are out playing with equipment that is not this year, it's not fresh, it's not brand new, but the technology is as good as it gets for them. It's a great fit. As we talk about the fit all the time, does this work for me? If it continues to work for you and you're getting out of the equipment your expectation, we don't necessarily need to change that. This is something that happens even in a fitting bay. As we talk about, someone might come in with 1-year-old technology and we try the newest stuff because it's out.
It doesn't beat it.
It doesn't really do anything different.
Yeah.
So that's where I even look at with what TaylorMade has here. And this is a very, very good driver.
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean,
yeah.
I remember the Qi10 Fairwoods also made a huge footprint in the game last year. So
yeah.
So I'm going to hit a few shots with the driver here, and we'll just talk about, I mean, I also kind of want to talk about how it feels as well. It's a shorter length than standard. And it's just, I mean, it's a Ventus Black 7X. It's probably, it's not going to get much more of a telephone pole than that. And then just talk about the way he likes to drive. He rarely ever hits a draw. If you watch him play, it's always just kind of a power fade. And so we'll see if I can try to replicate that to some extent. Obviously, I'm not nearly what Scottie Scheffler is, but. I will say it feels so weird. Even it's like a 3/4 of an inch difference, but it feels weird how much shorter this driver build is. And I know there's a lot of tour pros that have a shorter than standard driver shaft.
Yeah.
Just because they opt for the control and they don't need to hit it further. Like Scottie hits it plenty far as it is.
Right.
It's a little bit more of a controlled cut. One thing I'm curious about here is with this particular build, I don't know if I'll ever, I don't know how high I can hit the ball. Like hitting a high draw with this seems like it'll be a tough task.
Right.
If I were to try to do that. That's about as good as I'm going to do, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, that's 100 feet in the air. So at least from that perspective, you got really good height on it.
Yeah, I mean, that felt about as good as it's going to feel right there.
Yeah, get launch angle in there too.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm going to maybe do a couple here where I try to hit it right to left.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I can do that with the way this is built. Because also, with the hosel adjustment too, slightly open. So, it seems like it's just designed to hit a cut.
It brings up a good point, which is we hear this often, hey, I want just a one-way miss.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the game of golf, the face angle really determines a lot of what's going to happen at that moment of impact. And there is no such thing as a complete one-way miss, but you can absolutely guarantee yourself a better miss, if you will. So, for instance, if you're someone that tends to go to the right a lot, right, we're going to try to make something happen with that club to get its loft, its launch, get that thing to turn over as much as we can. But at the end of the day, if you're coming across, or known as over the top, outside in, if you're coming across the zero line and you leave the face open, that ball's going to the right. And so when you look at it, it's okay if we know it's going to the right. I have a set of the original Tiger Woods back in 2004 when Nike did a complete remodel or replica set. So exact same specs, exact same heads. And the driver in that was 7.5 degree. Yeah. It had at the time, as a graphite blue extra stiff, a little shorter, like 43.5. But all the weight was out on the toe. And I mean, there's no possible way to turn this thing over.
Right, so similar philosophy, right?
Yep.
Of trying to eliminate one side. And if
Correct.
you're going to miss, it's because for Scottie, he's trying to hit this kind of peel cut.
Yep.
And if he's going to miss, it's going to be a little too far to the right. And it's probably a more controlled miss than if he were to turn one over left a little too far and it kind of dives, right?
Well, and that's one of the things that we look at too is if you get to release the club, we talk about, extending down the line and being able to turn the face closed and, get the motion or the movement moving more towards your target. When that doesn't happen, right, is where we usually start to see things like ball speed starts dropping or launch and spin get in a bad spot.
Yeah.
It still all goes to the 4 things that we talk about in terms of the contact with the ball. So you got ball speed, launch, spin, and direction. This is set up basically as like I said, it's about 8.25. This is not going to go left easy.
No, and I'm having some problems doing that. Even you can see on the dispersion map there, like,
yeah,
I'm not able to turn that over at all.
Yeah.
But let's see what we got for numbers, just like on average.
Sure.
Because I feel like, I actually hit a few that were really like good contact there, and then there was just a couple that spiked up on spin towards like 3,000 where I really kind of cut across it. But
well, the last one you just hit right there had our best ball speed of the day at 168.4,
Yeah.
so that's really nice. Also, it's one of the higher smash factors. We can certainly take a look and see if I think we have hit location on this. Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. It seemed like it was a little high on the face, maybe.
Yeah,
for me.
and there's maybe 1 or 2 that is a little bit lower, but as we look at launch angle, I don't know, it's hard to tell because there's a bunch of 10s in here anyway. It's like,
Yeah.
There, it's
Yeah,
probably
there we
that
go.
one, right?
A little heel. And I will note, as if anybody's looking on the screen, you can probably see that this tee is maybe a little higher than I would.
Yeah.
I know Scottie sometimes too. When you watch him enough, he does like to hit that low kind of, stinger almost sometimes,
Yeah.
where he really tees it down. But
And one of the things we do, we're talking about the club, but you'll hear me say this. I've said it before. There's a club, a swing, and a ball. And the ball and the club are not the variables. So when we start talking about you're going to make a swing, that's going to be the variable here. We want to make sure that we're set up in the best position possible. Have I got something for the strength? Like, for instance, your club speed tends to be 115 towards sometimes even 120 miles an hour. I want something very stable, and that's what we've got. Aventus Black is very low launch, low spin type shaft. It's extremely stiff, very stiff. That's the type that we're going to see in a lot of different shafts on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of differences in maybe the color. You'll have a blue and some reds, and depending on the type of feel and launch conditions that they're looking for.
Yeah.
But
one thing I'm curious about from your perspective, as we, I know we're going to get to the next club here, but was just maybe the difference, if you've noticed, this is Scottie's playing the original Ventus Velocore family. This is the 7X Black.
Yep.
The difference now between the Velocore Plus that was released this past summer, and why there's a chance maybe he's, why he's sticking with this one versus upgrading or playing the Velocore Plus tech.
Yeah, totally. It's a great question. I think the biggest thing is we talk about in any shaft situation, when we get into shafts, it's feedback, right? What is that shaft going to do when we swing it? So for him, he's undoubtedly probably tested it, but like the newest, the Velocore Plus is slightly different profile in terms of its tip stiffness. It's like they wanted to get a little stiffer in a different section of the shaft. So for him, I'm sure that it's just a feedback. Like, all right, I can't quite feel what that's doing, or I can feel too much of what that's doing. And so that's going to be one of the things that you look at. Now, we talk about that, and we'll get into the hybrid in a second because, well, his utility iron's got this special, specific ghost shaft from Nippon. We'll get into it in a second. But you start looking at the other companies in the bag, and he's got other shafts and other companies, and those represent a feel or a feedback.
Yeah, he's also just playing a lot of stuff that's been around for a little bit. So that's actually a good, let's transition then.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is the utility iron. He's got these, depending on the setup and the course, he's got either a 3 and a 4 iron or just a 4 iron of these Srixon ZU85. And you might associate Scottie with TaylorMade, and you would be right to do so. But he has been playing these for a while now. This is several years. He's been playing these at the top of his iron set, seemingly to launch that ball low, keep a piercing ball flight, and you can actually see in some of the images we've got, for these from Golf WRX, is that he's got a ton of lead tape on the back of that club head. And then that shaft that you mentioned is they're calling it a prototype that's probably specific to Scottie in a sense, but it's a very unique material. They've got both graphite and steel on there. And it's like, I think it's 100-something grams, so it's heavy, right? But it's designed to be kind of a hybrid between sort of an iron shaft that's steel and then sort of a heavier graphite hybrid shaft, and it's kind of a mix of
Yeah, I
those.
think if I'm not mistaken, it's the G for graphite, O
It's like
for
graphite
on.
over steel tech. Or
Yeah,
something like
graphite over steel technology. And you know this because we've had this conversation, and a lot of people who know my game going way back is I played steel shafted hybrids for a long time.
That's right.
Very long time. Very lightweight. So way back in the day, I was just getting into kind of that 95, 100 gram shaft in my hybrid. It worked well. It provided consistency. I could rely on it. I knew what it was going to do. I never had any issues with it. So I never changed it out. And this is the same sort of thing that kind of happens here with Scottie. Is this is not a current model. In fact, this is a very old model.
It is. I mean, they've had at least 3 utility irons since this.
And not only that, but if you want to talk about other players where we've seen this type of technology, Tony Finau played the Nike. Brooks Koepka played that Nike driving iron for a very long. There are people that are still playing that Nike iron that's very similar to something like this because it's comfortable. It's what they've done. And until they break it and can't get another one. And by the way, we do have pros that will come in or go online looking for it. When
it's a lot of time. It's typically an older club like one of these Nikes or this utility iron or something where we have the benefit of having a crazy selection of clubs. And I'll give an example of a couple years ago where Brandt Snedeker was playing a G400. And a G400 driver, and then also his older putter that is it an old White Hot Rossi maybe?
Rossi.
Where he needed to have a couple backups for those, and we're the spot that's got them. And so he was looking for those. So that example, it happens a lot. We get all of a sudden we get a name that on an order, and it's like, oh, PGA Tour guy, Yeah. So the ZU85, just by looking at it, it's a little surprising to me because we're gonna look at his irons, but there's a very big difference in the size and build of these two clubs. His irons are nice and small, compact. Obviously, a muscleback blade we'll get to. It's not a gigantic utility iron, but there's still there's a lot of juice on the sole here that you can kind of see actually from address. So it surprises me that Scottie goes with this thing.
This is, and as you get to hit a few there, this is actually a pretty common build, or as you say, where we want to put clubs together in a bag and say, all right, we're going to go up to a 5 iron, and then we're going to start maybe getting into something a little bit more forgiving. So we talk about all the different models that you have out there available. If we talk about TaylorMade for just a second, because Scottie is a TaylorMade guy, we'll talk about it. He's got it in blades. He's got the Tiger Wood blades. But we're going to get into maybe a P770 or a P790 or even a utility, the UDI. And we see a lot of players that do this because it offers them a little bit more forgiveness, a little bit more ball speed. If they've got the right kind of height, they got good spin. This is a blended set we see a lot. In fact, very few times are you going to see someone that just goes straight blades, like 3 iron down to pitching wedges Tiger used to. It's not common. It does happen, so it's not like we are not going to see this. But every company realizes this as well. Titleist just dropped the new T series, so we talk about the 100, the 150, the 250.
Yeah, it blends really well.
The 350, so their iron series is they're trying to make these blend. They're even working with the lofts a little bit that way too. The other thing that happens too is we talk about the set, as we get into overalls of the set. I need a 4 iron that can carry. I need something that's got some launch, but I also need something that's got some landing angle. So one of the things that I look at, and I don't have it up, but I'll grab it up here in just a quick second, and that is the landing angle, right? So when we start talking about 42 degrees or 43 degrees as a landing angle, that ball's actually coming down with enough stopping power to make it worth keeping it in the bag. I had a professional that was in, and he has a 4 iron with a normal steel shaft as he does in his set. He says, I'd like to carry this maybe another 8 to 10 yards, just trying to squeak a little bit more distance. Can you turn the loft down? And I went, no, I don't turn the loft down. If you want the ball in the air longer, you need to get more hang time. So I actually turned around and I grabbed the 4, call it utility, which was of a particular model. So it's the very, very similar. It's just the next model up.
Oh, sure.
And it had a 1 110 or 115 extra stiff graphite shaft is perfect. It carries another 12 yards, and it comes down even steeper than his 4-iron. And now all of a sudden it's like, I can go after 240 and 250 as a carry and stop it with that club rather than the next club will happen to be a hybrid that comes in too low and it's too high.
Right.
So we talk about that. It's like, well, maybe it's a little too high. No, it's not too high. It's just a different club. So if you want a different club, then put a different club in the bag.
Right. And that's where it's, to your point, I know the fitters say this all the time, it's about having a club in the bag that has a purpose. And like for Scottie, in this example, I doubt this is like a club that he uses as like a T club too much.
Right.
He might on occasion, but it's
could.
Probably, if he needs to carry it, what's probably for him with this club, I don't know, 230.
Right.
Probably. But like here are, like actually I hit this pretty darn good I had a couple squirrely
Yeah, there
swings
were
in
a couple ones off. But
I should note, this is a KBS TGI stiff flex shaft, much lighter than his.
Yeah.
So it's not at all the same in that regard. He's obviously got, we talked about the shaft, that Nippon prototype.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually like how consistent this was. And again, for as much as it might be looking a little bit big, or the top line's not crazy big, but I can see some of that material on the sole at address. But it actually is really consistent. Flies pretty high when I hit it good. I had a couple that were up about 120 feet for peak height.
Right.
So there's definitely some launch and some forgiveness, and like you said, landing angle, your stopping power there too.
One of the things that I think we can learn from this is we have to pay a little bit more particular attention to the shaft that's in these utilities. So a lot of the times they get into graphite, they're a little heavier, but they're not super heavy. And I think the same applies as we start talking about hybrids. Hybrids are smaller woods, and when we get really lightweight graphite types, and then they get a little too long, they get a little harder to control. So one of the things I look at with an example like this is, I'd play this, and I do play something like this. I've got a couple sets, and I do have the 4, but it's call it the beefed up, it's the hollow cavity type, driving iron type. I've got steel shaft in one, which is the same as my irons. And I love it because it very high launching, got ball speed.
Yeah.
The other one is a driving iron, and I've got a very, very heavy graphite shaft in that.
Yeah.
So that's what I've started to morph into is I'm going to get very, very heavy. Even if it's just a stiff, I want 85, 95, or even 100, 105 gram shafts. Is if you're a stronger swing, you're going to want that stability. You're not going to want it to be so lightweight, it's just so you can swing faster.
Yeah.
That just kind of takes tempo off, and the ball can go all over the place.
If there's one thing we've learned from tour pros is that if they wanted to be faster, they'd be faster.
That's correct.
But with the way their clubs are built, and in a lot of cases, the way they play,
Yep.
it's not about being faster, it's about being fast, but in the right spot. I mean, I
Yes.
think of a guy like Tony Finau, who clearly, if you see, there's viral videos out there of him swinging it, 130 plus miles an hour with
Sure.
the driver. But he dials it back quite a bit because he needs to hit, a 300-yard cut in the fairway on every PGA Tour hole he plays, right?
Exactly.
So that's
exactly.
But yeah, I think this is it's. There's not a lot of these. If you're interested in a ZU85, there's like a handful maybe in our second swing selection. This is one we grabbed.
Right.
But to see him playing something older, based on what we talked about with his personality earlier, not a big surprise. But also it shows that some of the older stuff from years ago can still be a really good fit for you. You got to try it out because it can be really. It could be great for you.
And that's the nice piece is if you come across anything in our inventory where you're like, hey, this is a really nice, but I'm not quite sure about the shaft in it. Well, then you can have it changed out. Like you can get another shaft in anything. So
actually, one thing I'm curious about,
Yeah,
we'll start with a 7-iron,
Okay.
but I think I want to hit a 5-iron
sure.
at shortly after 2 just to see how much different that distance is from the 4-iron I just hit.
Cool. All right.
This is, now again, not his, he plays X100 in
Yeah.
his P7TWs. This is not X100.
Nah, it's a C taper.
So this is different.
Probably like a C
but
taper
let's
light.
just talk about how it looks, how it feels.
Yeah.
And I was making this comment earlier. It looks shape-wise, it's similar. I played the LB1s last year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. You can kind of see where Larry's influence played into a little bit of what Tiger likes, and that's this is P7TW. This is Tiger's kind of baby in a sense when he
Right.
when he got together with TaylorMade and they have their he signed with them. They designed these irons for him, and now Scottie's playing the same model. So.
Yep.
So same thing as, I mean, as far as I know, Scottie is still a big. He hits cuts for all shots throughout the bag. That's a nice, actually beautiful high draw there that I'm able to hit with this so far. And that's probably shaft related as well. Okay, that was a little on the toe. So I can already see with, you know, not much forgiveness from a muscle back blade here. Uh-oh, another miss hit.
You know, we'll get this question quite a bit. You know, why would someone play a blade? Like, what are they for?
It's a good
so,
question, yeah.
in terms of the technology, one of the things that professional players are looking for is as much control as they can get. When you start talking about like the blade and you look at that structure, is the mass of the club, all the mass of the club is essentially towards the bottom and behind the ball. So it's like one giant sweet spot. It's not a big sweet spot, but then again, that's also the piece of this puzzle. We're not looking for something that's super big. When you get more launch and you get more spin, you'll have the ability to kind of get yourself into a tighter position. So it's like, I really want to work this around a corner, or I want to get this over a bunker and stop it a lot quicker. One of the things that we talk about all the time is it's not just the three things that happen to the ball at impact. So that's ball speed, launch, and spin. It's how high does it go as a peak height, how steep does it come down, and how quickly does it stop. Mm-hmm. So you look at that shot right there, and it carries 181 and stops at 186.
Yeah.
So essentially a 5-yard window or 4-yard window. You know, it's not the club speed, it's not the ball speed. It's the fact that you can carry that iron there, whatever it is. I know it's a 7, and get it to stop.
Yep.
When you've got a landing angle at 52 degrees, anytime you come above that 45 and get towards 50, you're going to be able to stop that golf ball.
Right.
And even we talk about spin as a control factor. Is a lot of the times when we're in a fitting, we're trying to take like that club and get a landing angle that comes down steeper. Because if it comes down steeper, even if it doesn't have spin, it'll stop quicker. So it becomes the control part of the game. Direction, and this is one of the things that we hear all the time, is, well, the directional piece. It's like, I want something that goes straighter. What the face angle does at the moment of impact is not a fix. It's not necessarily even a correction. The face angle is what's happening in terms of what's happening in our hands, a lot about what's in our hands. And the face angle, and this is the one that I always tell people, is like, the face angle changes on every club for every swing for every player. Now, if we look at the PGA Tour, we're blessed because that's in town right now for us in Minneapolis. We've got the 3M open. Same thing as if you're, you know, at one of our other stores, and when they have a tour stop, Dallas has a bunch, Phoenix has got some too. When we're talking about watching these players on TV, if I go to the golf course, I can watch a guy shoot plus 12 today, who's a professional, a legitimate professional. And he can be all over the place. He's going to be right and left all over the place. When you're watching on TV, they don't show you the guy at plus 12. They don't show you the shots that are right and left. They show us the guys, or the top 4 or 5, maybe 6 guys at the top of the leaderboard. They're hitting the ball great. They've got control of their swing and their golf ball. They're making putts. They're up and down. We're watching the guys with the most control each week. But there's 100-some guys that don't have that type of control that aren't playing well this week. And that's what we are. That's what the same thing that we are. There's a
consistency and control of the club face.
Yeah, and there's obviously a certain level of talent and ability and like even just practice. You earn it, right?
Yep.
But when we start talking about like why would someone play this blade, there's a purpose to it.
It's a feel, it's a feedback, it's you know, the certain shot that Scottie or Tiger or anybody wants to hit. They've probably tried all kinds of different things. I imagine back when Tiger first joined and they were trying to design this model, I'm sure there was all kinds of testing sessions, getting his feedback, you know, hitting shots. Oh, I need this a little bit more. I want it to launch a little bit higher, a little bit lower, whatever it might be. Yeah. And there's probably some extent too to Scottie and having some custom designs or features on his set of these irons as well. Yeah. As it pertains to this, to your point, if you have control of your swing, you're hitting the center of the club consistently, Actually, it looks like whoever had these irons before was pretty good at that. That wears a nice little wear mark right towards the center.
That's too big, though.
Well, yeah.
You know, the Tiger one is like
Well, yeah.
that.
This is nice. It's not Tiger Woods level, but it's nice.
I bet Scotties are
But there's
pretty tight.
So there's 4 swings that are within a blanket of each other on this map.
Yeah.
And which to me is like, this is a very consistent iron. If you're hitting the ball solid, you're swinging consistently, you're going to get good numbers.
Correct.
And you're going to get the results you want. But there's also 3 slight miss hits where I missed the center and I dropped, 15 yards of carry.
Yeah, so let's go to those 4. I think it's important as we take a look at those. There's the plus minus, and that is the standard deviation. So for instance, ball speed's 181.7 plus or minus 1.1. We've got launch, my bad, that's carry distance, plus or minus a yard. Total distance, plus or minus a yard. Club speed, plus or minus 1 degree. Landing angle, 52 degrees, plus or minus 0.7. That's about a half a degree difference. We've got launch angle, again, 0.3. So it's at about 18 to 18 and a half.
It's very consistent.
That's exactly why you would want to use a club like that, because given the swing, you can mishit it. But given the swing, you can also get a very, very consistent result.
Yep.
Because you're not trying to make that go farther or more right.
It's not
or
a distance
left.
club.
It's a precision tool.
It's a specific distance club. That's what Larry gave us that one on a podcast episode.
Specific distance. I like that too.
You're
going to go to 5 iron?
Just going to hit 1 or 2, just to I just want to see what the gap is between the ZU85 that I hit, the 4 iron, and the 5 iron of this set, because this is the transition Scottie has in his bag too. That was a little bit on the toe. So you'll see it wasn't actually a big separation from the 7 iron. Let me hit one solid here.
Not a lot, but also nice.
Nope, same thing. It's actually consistent if you hit it off the toe in the same spot both times.
Well, and we don't know what the specs are because I didn't put them all through the measuring. So
there we go.
I mean, I know that they're Tiger Woods and they're
so
TWs.
That's the shot right there. That's about as far as I'm going to hit this 5 iron.
Yeah.
And so we see that carried 216. I want to say the other club was not that much farther than that actually.
Right. Well, let's look at it from this perspective real quick, and that is impact location.
Yeah, I mean, I hit that one really good.
Yep.
Right?
So he said on the first 2 that you felt like they were on the toe,
and they
were. They were up there, versus that.
Yeah.
And that is, but see, that's one of the reasons why people say, well, I can't hit a blade. All right, yes, you can. However, if I have a club that's got a face that's thinner all the way across, forgiveness is going to be in the ball speed. That toe is going to go a lot faster and probably a little bit farther.
Right.
So that's where the definition of forgiveness comes from. So like getting a little bit more ball speed, even though I don't hit it in the middle. The other thing about this, and people, if you've ever seen one of these blades, especially the Tiger Woods blades, they're very small.
Yeah.
I mean, very. So even when I say, all right, you hit that on the toe, that is a very small impact difference.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the actual distance is in terms of from my 3rd shot here to, but I'm not like off the grooves toe. But
right.
That's enough of a miss to lose 25 carry yards.
Yes.
Which is, again, the advantages and disadvantages of playing an iron like this.
Yep.
But because the cool thing is, as soon as I hit the toe, I knew exactly where it was and roughly how far from the center it was. So anyway, I just wanted to hit the 5 iron for fun.
What do you have in the bag now? You have
ZXi7s.
Okay, so you have Srixons.
Yes.
So, and they're also solid through and through, slight cavity back. You can tell if you hit it on the toe.
Correct. Yep.
And now,
but when you get a distance iron, and actually, to some extent, that's where I'm a little, again, more surprised that Scottie plays a utility iron that big.
Yeah.
Like with his 4 iron. There's probably some of that feedback. To go from this 5 iron to that 4 iron is a big step. And it surprises me that someone at his level is actually transitioning there to what to me looks like 2 very, very different golf clubs.
Sure.
Maybe they're built a little bit differently just for him.
Yeah.
But it's like it's crazy to see how different that is to me.
Well, and so we talk about the construction or the engineering behind it, and this is pretty much the same for a lot of these companies, but we'll talk about Srixon. It's a forged body, and then they have a plate or a face that gets welded on. That's heat treated. And what they do in that brazing process is they can get that face really, really, really super hot. But the forging, the metal is a little bit softer. It deadens it, so it's a feel thing. And it's not necessarily a look thing, although it, you know, how big it gets. So even like in your ZXi7s, if you were to take those Tiger Woods irons against your current irons, yours are so much larger, but they're very thin.
Yeah.
And that what it does is just that allows that larger size to kind of spread the weight out, and make them more forgiving. So your off-center hits are not quite as bad.
Right.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we see out of it. And this is once in a while you see someone at that elite level, they'll make a shot and you go, wow, how did they do that? Like, that was such a great shot. And then they'll turn around and they'll hit one so bad and you're like, you know, I thought you were good. What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, the margin of error, as we talk about it, is razor thin.
Yep.
And that is one of the things that we see as you get into it. Now, personally, I've gone with blades for a very, very, very long time. I've started to get out of that and get into cavity backs, especially into the 7s, the 6, the 5 irons. I found that it's much easier to launch, maintain ball speed, even on a slight miss.
Yeah.
And
I mean, take it from Scottie. He obviously knows his game. He's playing his muscle back blade like this up to the 5 iron.
Yep.
But if he getting to the top of his iron set with the 3 and the 4 iron, he opts for something larger.
Yeah.
That can help him launch it a little bit higher. Perhaps distance gapping or a little bit hotter face to give you some added distance there. Like, the best player in the world has 2 different irons in his iron set, and so I think that is something worth noting. And as we see combo sets become more and more popular, you should probably think about one for yourself if you don't have one. So
then on the bottom side of the bag, because we did have a comment, someone said, hey, it's SM8s.
yeah. Which again, an older model.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of them, by the way, really good price at second.
We do. We have, they're still in the plastic.
Yeah, they're like mint. They haven't been hit off the face before, and there's a ton of them you can look at.
Check it up. I mean, I know that they're around
Grinds,
that
lofts, the whole thing.
Around the $100 mark.
Yeah.
They're still brand new. Obviously, they're a couple of models old. We're going on about 6 years now. Or is it more? Are we in SM10s?
This is SM10s.
Okay, so yeah.
I think if if the calendar is right in my brain, we'll get a new wedge from Titleist next year. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but just based on their cadence from the past.
So this is a great point. Thanks for bringing that up, Kip. The idea is that first and foremost, Titleist has a great wedge. We know it. It's the #1 played, the #1 used. You don't mess around with what's being played the most, used the most by the best players in the world. So as you start talking about the little innovations in technology that have gone from the SM8 to the SM9 to the SM10s, there are slight differences to it. They're not exactly the same. But looking down at that, you're going to get the exact same look. Feel-wise, pretty much the exact same feel. Performance-wise, they are making improvements to it. And there's a couple things that professionals normally do. First, they generally have the raw version. Generally. Not always, but that allows them in the shop or the tour truck to grind a bit more, to make a little bit more specific stuff for the tour players. If you have a coating and you talk about the chrome or even the black coated ones, they have a coating on them and that just gets worn off. Not unheard of to see that happening as well, but generally that just allows for a little bit more workability in that. The other thing that we're seeing with this is a lot of the wedges that we see come from Vokey Wedge Works. So we'll see a lot of these specialty wedges.
Yeah, they're just prototypes designed specifically for how that player wants their highest lofted wedge.
That's right. It's just one of the same wedges. It's the same sorts of shapes and same sorts of internal weightings and such. They're doing that on a much smaller scale. But they're also doing it, say, they may have the high-end professional that doesn't want a flat bottom. One wants more curve, another one doesn't want it.
It's purely what Scottie wanted.
Yeah.
They did some testing, I'm sure, and Scottie's like, all right, I want this. They built it, done deal.
We learned from Tiger Woods because Tiger always had a 56 and a 60. He had a pitching wedge, 56 and 60. He's never had a gap wedge. And he's never had like a 46-degree wedge in terms of like a specialty wedge. But as it was told when they were talking about Tiger's wedges when they first came out from TaylorMade, they launched that line, is he typically gets somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 sets of those. And they're all to the spec that he wants. And he'll use those until he feels those are worn out. Let's say it's 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever that is. And that set then goes to get refinished. and goes to the back of the line. So he'll go through those.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he'll go through those sets. Let's say that it's 4 sets of wedges twice, and he'll use them somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 weeks to 4 weeks. So he's always got a fresh set. He's always got the exact same club. It's exactly what he's looking for. And they're not just making new ones just fresh. But what it does is it offers him maybe a bit better of feel. Like he knows where he wants to be with that wedge. So that's another way, if you think about it in the production studio, we don't want to get a brand new one and then go, this one doesn't feel the same. That's the last thing these guys want to do.
Right.
So that's why they continue to use some of these older ones. And they may just get them refinished or regrooved so that they're legal and they go right back into the bag.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother wedge conversation to it. But I think it's important because obviously Scheffler's really super good with his wedges. I mean, you don't get the numbers that he's shooting and you don't get to the level at where you're at without being able to number one, get the ball in play, number two, get it close to the hole, and number three, put it in the hole, whether that's with a putter or getting it closer with a wedge.
Yeah.
So
what he's doing right now is magnificent. It was kind of cool. He's got a unique setup, and there's been a lot of talk about it, but we kind of wanted to dive in a little deeper today. So yeah, it's the Qi10 driver. We got a bunch of those a second swing.
Oh yeah.
We've got a few of these ZU85s if you're interested. There's a few if you go on our website throughout our stores, and then a few maybe P7TW sets.
Yeah.
They're a little, again, these are not a huge. There's not a bunch of these out there.
It's not a stock market. In other words, that's not a club that just gets put onto the shelves anywhere.
Right.
That's a specific. It's a limited edition run. They do cost quite a bit more. You can customize them. It is an option. The other thing I was going to say too is like we've talked about this many times at Live at Lunch is the 7-wood idea, and right now we have a bunch of the Qi10 7-woods. Oh man, they are so solid.
Yeah.
So if you are interested, get on secondswing.com or head into any one of our stores, and we've got a great selection of those, and they're
it's worth noting he'll swap one in for his 3-iron of this too,
correct,
depending on the event. So well, yeah. Tyler, thanks for joining. Say thanks for the viewers for tuning in. We appreciate it. We're going to continue with more Live at Lunch in the future. We're going to do some maybe ball testing in the future. That's been next on the radar. So, but stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and I'll let Tyler sign off here.
Yeah, keep your grooves clean and stay razor sharp.